Welcome to Administration of Justice 220. Many of you already work in law enforcement, corrections, or dispatch, so you know the reality of the job. We are going to focus on the daily mechanics of professional conduct, not abstract philosophy. In most corporate environments, the power to make major decisions sits at the top of the pyramid. Criminal justice concentrates extraordinary discretionary power in individual frontline employees at the very bottom. This glowing radius represents unsupervised discretion. A patrol officer on a night shift makes immediate, life-altering decisions: who to stop, who to search, who to arrest, often without any direct managerial oversight. To control that expanding power, the profession establishes codified ethics. These are the strict legal and procedural boundaries that dictate exactly how that discretionary power must be used. But a boundary on paper does nothing on its own. Leadership is the enforcement mechanism. It is the active force that secures those ethical boundaries in the field. This is why this course treats ethics and leadership as a single subject. They are functionally inseparable. Together, they form the only system capable of managing frontline discretion. New recruits often assume that simply being a good person is enough to navigate the job, but policing requires a far more precise framework. We built this framework using an architectural diagram. The base pillar represents values, broad, abstract principles and organization prizes, like courage or integrity. The middle pillar holds morals, deeply personal, highly subjective beliefs about right and wrong. Relying on morals alone in law enforcement is dangerous. Personal beliefs vary wildly from person to person, shaped by individual backgrounds, religions, and upbringings. Ethics, by contrast, are rigidly codified, objective professional standards, applying uniformly to every member, regardless of personal beliefs. While internal morals continuously shift based on context, professional ethics remain locked and stable. Personal beliefs do not override departmental policy. This stability creates absolute predictability. When a citizen interacts with an officer, they need to know exactly how that officer will behave, governed by the law, not by the officer's personal background. Professional policing relies entirely on codified ethics. It is the only way to guarantee lawful behavior from a workforce made up of individuals with vastly different personal morals. Having rules is one thing, enforcing them is another. A policy manual is useless without active implementation. This grid maps 4 leadership roles. The role model demonstrates required behavior. The gatekeeper stops bad actions like excessive force. The translator converts policy into street-level practice. The culture builder shapes the environment by valuing honesty. All ranks, not just command staff, perform these functions. Every employee, down to the newest patrol officer, actively utilizes these 4 tools. The decisions you make every shift directly shape the ethical reality of your agency. Ethical breaches in criminal justice carry heavier consequences than in other fields. Corporate scandals involve capital. Criminal justice deals in the currency of human liberty. This dashboard illustrates why stakes are high. First, unsupervised discretion occurs largely outside direct oversight. Second, bad decisions cause severe harm, like irreversible injury or wrongful conviction. Third, the system depends on voluntary public trust. Finally, agencies largely police themselves, increasing vulnerability to internal corruption. Combined, these 4 compounding factors mean a single ethical failure by one officer can rapidly escalate into a systemic threat against the agency's legitimacy. Corruption is rarely a sudden, dramatic moral collapse. Instead, it is a slow, continuous process of structural ethical decay that occurs over a long period. Consider a reading scenario. A rookie accepts a free coffee, violating policy. The training officer acts as a poor gatekeeper, waving off the minor violation and structurally enabling the behavior. Years later, that exact same officer is offered cash to overlook a code violation. The free coffee itself is not the scandal. It is the starting point of boundary testing. This erosion is gradual. It rarely feels like a conscious, dramatic decision to become corrupt at the time it happens. Systemic corruption is simply the slow normalization of deviance. It occurs when minor policy breaches are structurally tolerated over time. The ultimate environment where this ethical erosion is either halted or accelerated is organizational culture. This diagram maps two paths. Pathway A represents formal organizational culture. These are the written rules, primarily the official policy manual. Pathway B is informal organizational culture. These are the unwritten, pervasive rules of peer survival and daily operational norms. New employees consistently absorb these informal rules faster than the written ones. Their day-to-day survival and peer acceptance depend on fitting in. The ultimate manifestation of a dangerous informal culture is the Code of Silence. The Code of Silence operates by completely overriding formal codified ethics in favor of informal peer protection. It demands that personnel hide or ignore the misconduct of their colleagues. To review, the criminal justice system grants vast, unsupervised discretion. That power requires rigorous codified ethics to control it. Those ethics must be actively enforced by leaders at all ranks, acting as role models, gatekeepers, translators, and culture builders to combat the slippery slope of informal culture. Before you proceed, complete the mandatory login quiz if you have not already done so. Your next steps for this module are to read Chapter 1, post to the discussion board, and take the quiz.